My name is Jerry Whelan. I teach theology here in the Gregorian, and I'm a happy member of the Laudato Si Observatory. We have this session now, which is a brief session, too brief for three very richly experienced speakers. And let me just say a word about the process of this afternoon that we have together. Very broadly speaking, a process of see, judge, act is unfolding. Our first session, we have listened to the two synods, the Synod for the Youth, the Synod on the Amazon, and we've heard about the Academy for Science. What's happening? The next session, after this session, there will be talk about the future. There will be this emphasis on beyond the Amazon, prospects, proposals for the future in the Congo region, in the Pacific region. This session that we're beginning now, we've asked the speakers to, in a sense, witness. It's the Italian translation on this dépliant is quite good. Just witnesses of people who are trying to engage with the ecological issue at different levels. So if I introduce our speakers, you'll see how they express different kinds of commitment within the ecological movement. So we will start very happily with Mauricio López, who's the Executive Secretary of Repam. For those of you who don't know, what is Repam? Repam is a pan-Amazonian church network. They are the organization very much at the center of this current synod. Multi-structural, including representing 7 Episcopal conferences, who in their turn come from 9 different countries. But it's not just bishops, there are the Caritas organizations, there is the organization of religious brothers and sisters, and other organizations. So it is a form of synodal organization in its own right for the Amazonian region. Mauricio, those who have Jesuit links here will understand when I say that Mauricio was president of CLC, Christian Life Communities, so very much committed to lay ministry in the church, to an Ignatian formation behind that. He has a master's in sociology and human development and an MBA, and he is, as I said, the executive secretary of Repam. I asked him where he comes from, and he told me he's Mexican by birth, Ecuadorian by choice, and Amazonian by vocation. So over to Mauricio.
Hello everyone, thank you for inviting us today. It's a pleasure to be back here, to be here again. So in this time, what I want to offer you is some of the lessons that we've learned as Repam. I'm just going to time myself so I don't go for too long. So I think it's very important to see what's most important about our work is that we come from a historical perspective. It is all about honoring those who have been there before us. There is nothing new about what we do. It is actually the result of a more than 50-year journey which started with the Vatican Council II. And everything that happened after in Latin America, all of the magisterium, the social reflection, and the social teaching of the church which happened after that. We cannot understand what we do and who we are unless we look back there. And of course, in the Amazon region, we have to recognize the lives of those who have been martyrs, men and women in the Amazon. They've given their lives for this territory, and many people who work day in and day out as to provide the possibility for a better future, not just for the Amazon, but for the whole world. So it is very important, if you want to understand the approach of this network, we come from this process, which is historical. The second element is that this didn't come from a very beautiful, enlightening experience. It is the reality which cries out and can no longer continue as it is, which made us come together and respond together. The levels of injustice in the Amazon region cannot continue anymore. The level of inequality in the world is so tremendous that the impact in the Amazon called for a common response. So this is what we're trying to do also, to read the signs of the times as to recognize that there are huge challenges there, even for the church inwards, that need to call for a different perspective. So this is what we have with the Pan-Amazon Synod. It is actually a possibility, but in no way it's the final part of a process. It's rather the beginning of something new. Some people call it that this is a new ecclesiological approach emerging, and it's taken 50 years or more. And this is how we understand the kairos moment, the precise time, not in our own terms, but in God's terms. This is very much in link with Teilhard de Chardin's perspective. This is the Christification process which happens everywhere, in every single particle of this world, and God prevailing, even though times are difficult, but we see the mystery of God happening. This is where our trust as Christians or non-Christians has to rely. We need to rely on the hope that the better future is possible, but we need to act now. The third element, which was new, is the territorial approach. This is probably what's actually new about this network. It is the whole Pan-Amazon basin, which includes 9 countries, and most of the territories of those 9 countries connected by life, by the rivers, by the flora, by the fauna. And then the church comes in this same type of approach, breaking barriers, breaking frontiers, and sit together to find possibilities for a change. This is also part of the sociological approach. Pierre Bourdieu has been talking about in the social fields theory. He calls for this perspective in which material and non-material, political, social, cultural, and even spiritual elements come together in dialogue. I think it sounds familiar when we look into Laudato Si and the integral ecology approach. So the territorial approach is so important. So this is why it's very important also that we have here brothers and sisters working in the same direction with this new ecclesiological approach emerging also in the Congo Basin. You have here Revac, but you also have people working in the Mesoamerican region, which is also a biome. The network was founded about a month ago, and it's going the same direction. The Asia-Pacific Ecclesiastical Network, we have here Pedro Walpole over here, there is also a movement there. Europe is also connecting together, and also here we have people from North America trying to make sense of these challenges and respond together. So it is the territorial perspective with the new vision of biomes, which puts us together, and we try to respond, not substituting what's already there, but actually recognizing the limitations and the empty spaces as to respond, especially to the signs of death and injustice. I am not exaggerating. There is death day in and day out in the Amazon region, not only for those men and women leaders in their territories, but also our Mother Earth is being murdered. So we need to respond. And this is because inequality. This is not because we don't have enough elements in our environment, in our common home. It is because it's in the hands of very few, continuously trying to grab more with no care or responsibility for what happens to those living there. Those are not empty spaces. Indigenous peoples, farmer communities live there, and at the same time, we are disrespecting the future generations. So something needs to be done. So Pope Francis calls for 3 conversions, which are also part of our journey in the Amazon. The first one is the Pastoral Conversion, a church that goes forth, that goes out. The missionary church, which also does an evangelizing process through the social work. This is Evangelii Gaudium. There is an itinerary there in which Pope Francis is calling us to respond. The second major conversion is an ecological conversion, rather a social and environmental conversion which is present in Laudato Si. There are no two separated crises. It's only one, social and ecological. And we need to respond together because always at the center of this, the poor, the impoverished are the ones who suffer the most due to the decisions that we make day in and day out. And the third conversion, which is something that might be a little less known for you, is the conversion towards synodality in the church. So I invite you very much to read the Apostolic Constitution of Pope Francis called Episcopalis Communio. There you can see the spirit of Pope Francis and his desire, his dream for a more synodal church, a more collegial church. And this is what we are experiencing now. We as Repam don't come here with formulas, with already defined decisions. What we do is that we journey together with people, with institutions, with different levels of actors in reality, and we try to find solutions together. So of course we have new things emerging. So the Synod is a very important moment in time, but it's only a means to an end, which is way larger, and it's the future of the planet, the protection of the peoples there, especially the indigenous and the most vulnerable communities. So I think it's important to see also some nucleus of analysis which might be helpful for other realities. So the territorial approach comes from the local level, always a bottom-up approach, starting with the lives of the people. What we do usually is that we hear them out, we listen to their challenges, to what they go through. So I want to show you, it's in Spanish and Portuguese, but this is the result of a 3-year process. I want to thank my colleague Susana Espinosa, who's here today, and we've been working with people on the ground to listen to what's happening, connecting with universities, connecting with the specialized institutions. The church has them all. We've just been working isolated all the time. When we actually connect things with the voices of the people, we can respond better. So we start from the local level, then we try to respond also at a national level. Some politicians are afraid that we are somehow challenging sovereignty, and this is not true. What we do is that we try to respond at a local level, also at a national level. We need to understand the politics in the national level, but this is where the new element comes. At a regional level, we can actually achieve so many things, and also at a universal level. We've been connected with the Vatican ever since we started with the current dicastery of integral human development. We've also been working with all of the church institutions at a regional level, religious men and women, the Episcopal Conference, CELAM, Caritas, etc. And I think this is how, respecting the identity of each one of those institutions, we've come to a point that we can respond together. Some concrete fruits. I feel that this synod, as the Pope has said himself, is somehow the result of this 50-something year journey, but also these last 5 years in which we've been working together with this approach. I'd like to finish also with something that touched my heart very much, and it was the Pope who said it to us, and it represents very well what we are trying to do here. And he said, do not forget what's most important. The periphery is now the center. So this is really powerful. And this is not a periphery which takes over and then does the same mistakes done in the past by the center, but it's the periphery which continues to be periphery, enlightening the center, helping it out. And this is why we have so many people uncomfortable these days here in the Amazon, and people who don't want to change. Same with the youth, Fridays for Future, as it was mentioned. We are challenging the structures, but not to overtake them, but to offer new perspectives. We very much need that. So the final word would be, the idea is to achieve an integral ecology approach, not a fragmented knowledge, but one which actually connects social ecology, political ecology, environmental approach, the cultural ecology, spiritual ecology, economic ecology, and we need to work together in this. The servant of God, Pedro Arrupe, said, "I am not afraid of the new world. I am afraid that we will be providing with responses of the past to the problems of the future, and then make the biggest of all of the mistakes to remain doing nothing because we are afraid of taking a step and making a change." Thank you.